Well, hello, everybody. It is my absolute pleasure to have with me today Candice Marley Connor. She is a critique partner of mine, and she also helps run this Wonder of Words blog. And today we're reviewing her book, The Existence of Bee Pearl. And I'm hoping that's showing, yeah, look at that, very cool. The Existence of Bee Pearl. And so I'm hoping that that was showing up the right way. I think it is. And yeah, so Candice, tell us just a little bit of background about yourself before we get started. How long have you been writing for, those sorts of things?
Okay. Hi, I'm Candice Marley Connor. I'm in Alabama, and I've been writing for about 10 years. I started Bee Pearl about 9 years ago, and I went through the query trenches and the submission trenches, but it's definitely made me a much stronger writer. So I really appreciate having that time. Looking back, of course, not at the time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I think that it is a long time, isn't it? I mean, they talk about the apprenticeship of 10,000 hours for writers. So, or any apprenticeship is 10,000 hours. So why not for writing as well? Makes sense. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'm doing today is this is my book review post, and I did a book review with Nancy Turner Stevenson in this way, where I had her and we talked about the book together, because I think that it's really hard to review a book sometimes in isolation, like without the author. There are certain things that the author really would like to tell the reviewer. And so I'm giving Candice this opportunity to tell me, as I review her book, what some of her decisions were and what some of the things she thought about were as she went through the writing process. So first of all, I want to start with the cover.
Yes.
I love this cover so much. It is amazing. It's one of the nicest covers and most evocative covers I think I've ever seen. So can you talk a bit about that? Like, how did the design emerge, who the designer is, and how you feel it encompasses the story?
I 100% agree with you. I was totally pleased with the cover. The Owl Hollow Press team actually put it together. So it was great that I had a lot of input. For instance, in one of the beginning mock-ups, they had blood dripping down the letters because they wanted to invoke the thrillerish. But I was worried that it invoked too much horror. And since you read it, you know there's not any horror in it. So I didn't want readers to come at it thinking there's going to be horror in it, when it was more of a mystery, atmospheric thing than horror. So I was really glad to be listened to on that point. Originally there wasn't an alligator, so I was really excited when I got an email saying, hey, one day let's put alligator on the cover. I was like, yes. And then something else that I didn't notice at all, except for when a reviewer pointed out, was that the fireflies looked like eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, they really do. But knowing that they were fireflies, that's all it was in my head. But when a reviewer pointed that out, I was like, ooh, whose eyes could those be? So I really liked that bit of mystery.
Yeah, it really does. It really provides that sense of intrigue for the whole book. So it's a great cover. And the title, I love the title as well, The Existence of Bee Pearl. I mean, that is what is this about? This is such an evocative title that fits so nicely with the cover. So I would actually have bought the book alone on the cover and the title without even knowing what was inside it. So tell me about the title. How did the title emerge?
I don't remember what happened first, more that it was like, that was like the one thing that I could think that encompassed the whole thing. But the title came pretty early on. And I wanted it to be about, like, what does existence really mean? And I think it's taken on a whole different meaning while we're all, especially those who are still doing this, still in isolation from the pandemic, that it really resonated with Bee Pearl's isolation and our physical isolation now.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, I just love the title. And let's get all these things that I really, really love out of the way. Bee Pearl, that name. I mean, goodness me, cover, title, name, just amazing. Just so many beautiful components all coming together. How did you come up with the name? And which came first? I want to know which came first, the necklace or the name?
The necklace came first,
Wow.
and then the name.
I
Yes.
wondered.
So at the time that I was searching for a name for the main character, because I'd written a scene out and I didn't know who the girl was. I didn't know who she was waiting for, but when I was developing the story more, I wanted she needed a name, and I had an Etsy shop at the time, and I had little bee necklaces and little bee and pearl necklaces. And a mom from New York contacted me, and she's like, "My daughter's name is Bee Pearl. Could you put a bee and a pearl together?" And I was like, "That is the most charming name ever." So I immediately had to incorporate it. And then since that necklace was already ready made, I just included the necklace in there also.
Wow, that's amazing. You see, this is why I love doing the review process with authors, because it's so easy for a reviewer to say, oh, I love the name and love the connection with the necklace. But to know how that came about is really special, and it adds a little bit more meaning to the book and to the story. That's fantastic. So,
And for writers, you never know where your inspiration will come from
no,
next.
you never know where the inspiration will come from. Never. So I suppose, like we've been talking about the cover, the title, the name, I suppose we'd better give everybody an idea of what the story is about. And I love a good elevator pitch. Do you have an elevator pitch for the story?
I do. I do. 16-year-old Bee Pearl must navigate the secrets of her small town as well as the swamps and river to find out what happened to her mysteriously disappeared brother. Because if he could stop existing, could she too?
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that sums it up really lovely, really
Well,
beautifully.
thank you.
So is there anything else that, like normally if I was writing a review, I'd write a little bit about the plot. So is there anything else that you want to add about the plot that you might like a reviewer to point out?
Um, Not really specifically on the plots, but more that setting is where I prefer to be. And so I had to figure out the plot based on where I wanted to be in the setting. It's like if
Mm.
I could just stayed at the swamp and the river the whole time, I would have been happy. But people like a plot, so I had to work on that also.
The swamp and the river, they really feature really strongly. So the setting is almost a character within
Yes.
itself. So
Mhm.
and that's something that writers often strive to do. And it's very, very clear in the story that part of the characters weaving through the story, the swamp and the river is definitely one of those. Yeah. Changes
Mhm.
all the time, and really great how you've captured those different atmospheres of the swamp and the river.
Thank you.
Yeah. So something else I noticed is that you use a lot of similes,
I do.
a
Yes.
lot of similes.
I
And
do. And can you believe it? There was more in there, but early
oh,
readers told me to take some out.
yeah, there's a lot. And you know, if I was doing a review, I would be talking about how many there are. So again, it's wonderful that I'm sitting here with you, because I'd like to know, they must mean something. So what do similes mean for you? I mean, they're very, they're through the book, they're throughout the book. It's just about like every page, just about like there are a lot of them. So you must have a really deep connection to them. So can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, first off, going back to what you said about setting and incorporating setting into all the other elements of the story. To me, using similes and metaphors helps me use the setting that way also. So that's one of the main reasons I like similes.
Nice.
Another reason is that most of my friends growing up that live in this town that uh, George Field's based on also talk very colorfully like this. And so it's always been a part of our
Yeah.
vernacular. To me, it epitomizes Southern charm. And so I
Hmm.
wanted to include that in Bee
Mm.
Pearl's language as well.
Yeah, very much a part of the voice of the novel, that this use of similes. So how on earth, this just blew me away, how on earth did you come up with so many original ones? So the trap for a writer is that they tend towards the cliche, but I mean, as I was reading, I was thinking, not heard that one before, not heard that one before. I mean, how do you come up with so many original ones?
Some of them are just off the top of my head, like when I'm in the zone of the character. Other ones I'll write in a cliche, but then I'll highlight it so I can think back on it and really get to what would be Pearl say, what would be Pearl
Yeah,
notice about this situation, and then I go back through and change it up to make it unique to her.
yeah, lovely. And which one's your favorite?
Okay, so I have three favorites. First, I have favorite metaphor also, and I want to include that because that's the first line. So we are a murder of grounded crows. I love all the symbolism and imagery of crows, so I definitely wanted to include that. Also, in the true life place where this story takes place, there was a crow there also. So I wanted to nod to the crow without having a crow in a cage, because that's what was okay back in the 30s. To have a crow in a cage would not fly now, to use that pun. For favorite similes, though, the sandy cliffs tower over my head like a swamp cathedral.
Mm,
I love the imagery of a swamp cathedral and
mm,
thought it perfectly captured that almost sense of worship that she feels when she's in the woods.
mm.
And then another one, I whisper, afraid if I speak any louder, my voice will crack like a levee. So another one of the river images with the levee.
Mm, mm. And my favorite, bitterness twines through my words like thorny sticker vines.
And that one was added later on too.
Really?
It was, yes.
Yeah. I love that. I love the idea of like that everything connects in that
Mhm.
simile, the bitterness and the twining and the vines, and it's the thorny sticker vines. It's really a really good good simile.
Thank
So
you.
just before we tie up the interview, I'd like to know, what words would you like a reviewer to use about the story?
Okay, so I actually pulled parts of my Kirkus review that I got for it because
Ah,
I really liked how they described it as lush. I love
ah,
books that have a
yes,
lush atmospheric
nice.
world. So when they described my book that way, I was like, I made it. They said it was an almost magical realism to the landscape. It's The landscape lends an intriguing, spooky layer to this teen mystery. So
Mm,
those were all words that I was like, yes, like they got what I was going for. So it
yeah,
made me very happy
yeah,
to read.
yeah, yep. That's it definitely is a lush story. And I think that again, part of the lushness is the fact that you've woven that setting in so strongly into the story as one of the characters. So I would I would have used, well, I can use, because this is a review, I would say it is intriguing, and really is an intriguing mystery. I mean, I'm reading and I'm thinking, well, how's she going to tie all this together? I really don't know how this is going to all come together. And it did. It just came together at the end. Um, everything fed into that final last few chapters. So very intriguing and complex too. So, and I think that's really important for YA readers so that they can have something to think about and something to, well, how's she going to get out of this, and the complex weaving of the plot and the scenes and the way that you've again brought that river in. I think that that's a really strong component. Very exciting, keeps you guessing, and the ending, well, there's a little surprise in store there that I did not see coming.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, so that was yes, I did not see that coming. So
Oh, those are awesome words. Thank you.
yeah. So so like to wrap that up now. Thank you so much, Candice, for joining me. And I hope that everybody out there has enjoyed this review of the existence of bee pearl. I'll catch you all later.